do you got?
Kyle made the case for Jalen Hurts earlier in the show in terms of the weapons they've put around him. It's the same thing in Miami with Tua Tagovailoa. You go out and you trade for Tyreek Hill, and you bring in Teron Armstead to be your left tackle, and you hire a guy in Mike McDaniel who came in and presented to the owners in his interview. Everyone else said, well, what's the deal with Tua? What's the quarterback situation? Mike went, here's how we're going to win with Tua. So you got a coach who's wrapped his arms around him. Everything else that's happened, going after Tom Brady and losing a future first-round pick and a third-round pick for it and get your owner suspended. Going after Deshaun Watson several times, not being able to get him. The Dolphins have spent Tua's entire career trying to get rid of him, all the way down to pulling him late in games and putting Ryan Fitzpatrick in. Yeah. Now, this is your shot. If you look at him, he's got a winning record as a starting quarterback, or the Dolphins have a winning record with him as their starting quarterback when he did not have that level of support, when he went through 4 different offensive coordinators over his first couple of years here. McDaniel's really smart with offense. You've got weapons around him. You've got a ton of speed on that team. It's about Tua now. There's no excuses. Right. This is your opportunity to show you're the guy, and then, I mean, who knows, maybe they'll still try to get rid of him. But he's got a really good shot here.
People have so many opinions about Tua, too. It always runs hot. Like, there's a sensitive nerve about Tua on the internet. I'm going to go with somebody who just has massive expectations, and that's Russell Wilson in Denver. He can't just show up and win a few games and throw a few touchdowns. He just has to change the world in Denver. He's looked at, you can't even talk about him arriving without saying Elway, Manning, Russ. That is a lot. How do we know the Broncos are not going to be 6-11 this year? They're in a ridiculous division. Russ is brand new there, and it's like, Russ, we need you to change the world. We need you to undo all the evils of the past. We need you to just make this beautiful place to live and play and raise children. Russ, you threw 3 touchdowns today, but you didn't cure any lepers. It was a disappointing, we need a massive showing from him. And it starts week 1 at Seattle. It's almost unfair. And I know Russ is so focused and compartmentalizes. That's a lot to ask emotionally on a guy to go back to that stadium and that coach and those fans while you're still getting to know your receivers. And it's just, I feel like, let's say Russ has a pretty good year and they come out and, they missed the playoffs at 8 and 9. It's like a massive disappointment because we've been suffering for years now, and you're the difference. You're the light. This is a resurrection and a renaissance. It's just all a lot. So if he just plays pretty good football, it's almost like it's not enough because of the expectations. You got to beat Mahomes. You got to beat Carr. You got to beat Herbert. It's a lot. I love the guy. He's a great player, but my God, he has a lot on his shoulders.
Yeah, for sure, and I love that. And both the guys you guys have brought up, Russ has done it before. He's been to the mountaintop. He knows what the feeling is like. Tua, a ton of pressure, but the expectation is, all right, Tua's going to get him to the playoffs. It's not, all right, Miami's going to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Guy out west, Justin Herbert, the expectations for him is that this Chargers team is going to go from not playing in the playoffs to now we're competing for a Super Bowl in the AFC West that you just said. I mean, Keenan Allen said about him last week, he said this guy is after practice throwing the ball, throwing passes for an hour. You know who he said never did that? Phillip Rivers. Already this guy is being compared to the great Phillip Rivers, who didn't win the Super Bowl, but this team was deep into the playoffs and everybody loved the way he played and the way he competed. We all love Justin Herbert. We're talking about top 10 quarterback. This guy's on pace to be in the top 5, but there's been excuses the last 2 years. This defense has played extremely poorly down the stretch for them. Been at some of the last-ranked defenses in a lot of categories. Well, now they brought in a ton of guys on the defensive side of the ball. Brandon Staley is a defensive coach. The focus is, hey, we're going to be better on defense. Well, more pressure falls on Justin Herbert to take this team to where they think they can get, and that's contending for a Super Bowl championship.
You know why Phillip Rivers wasn't doing that? It was because he had to get into that tricked-out van that he built up, that he had to drive back
get home
to
to
San
the 15
Diego,
kids.
Remember? Yeah, I remember that. It was fantastic. No one expects this quarterback, no one expects anything less for this quarterback than for Josh Allen to be playing in the Super Bowl this year. The worst thing to happen to Josh Allen over the last 6 months is that we haven't seen him play football. The last time we saw him play football, his heart was breaking along with America's the fact that he didn't get to redeem himself after the coin toss that blew Twitter up and blew up a rule change for that matter. Josh Allen it's like the expectation on him is so huge because he hasn't been able to redeem himself from that moment in the playoff game. The casual football fans saw him light the world on fire against the Chiefs. They weren't really watching Bills-Jaguars the week before, so the taste in everybody's mouth was from that Chiefs game. And the Bills, they've done everything and then some, a.k.a. add Von Miller, get a James Cook coming out of the backfield, to be better Josh Allen, man, there is nothing except Super Bowl or bust for him.
I know. When you see that highlight over the weekend, though, he is so good.
I know.
It's amazing. But they open at the Rams on opening night. They lose that game 27-24. It's very possible.
So what you're saying is
Who
the
knows?
schedule pickers are really, they're just like toying with
They
it.
had zero chill with the week 1 thing. That's what they said. That's what the kids said.
That segment right there, too, was an amazing tour around this totally bonkers offseason. From the Tyreek Hill trade to the Russell Wilson trade. I had forgotten until you said it right there, and I broke the story about the rule change for overtime. I literally went, that's right, that was at the league meetings. This has felt like the longest offseason in NFL history because so much has happened, and finally we're getting close to actually going out there.
It's the shortest offseason in NFL history, week-wise, but it feels like it's going on for 20 years.
Absolutely.
We have some games. Let's go.